It's time to wake up. The show is about to start. With lots of stories about Pooh and a Christmas heart. When it comes to Joanne, oh, you won't find no faults. But if you mess with the bull, you might get the schultz. It's time for Mornin'. It's Mornin' with Bill and Joe. It's time for Mornin'. It's gonna be a holly jolly show. It's Bill and Joe.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mornin' with Bill and Joe. I'm Joe.
I'm Jude Law. How about that?
Oh, wow, Jude.
Yeah.
Oh, you've let yourself go.
Well, you know, I'm getting older. Ripley was always more talented. I already told you, but apparently you knew that people were very sad to find out that apparently there is this idyllic British countryside home in the thing, and people, of course, would hope that this was a tourist trap, but indeed it was a set in Hollywood, you know, like most movies. And they, TMZ saw people accosting Jude Law and being very sad that this was not a real house. And he's like, I thought that this was revealed years ago.
Yeah.
It's like a 15-year-old movie. Like, he was utterly gobsmacked.
I don't know what interview he was doing sort of recently, I guess, where this came up. And it's now been on all these headlines, like Jude Law reveals shocking information about the film that will make you feel differently or whatever. And I'm like, are we feeling differently? Do we actually care? I don't think so. I think it's just clickbait.
Well, I think you're probably right. And I hate myself for clicking on it for no other reason than I knew you liked the movie.
Yeah.
I'm still not even clear what the movie is, aside from it's a Jude Law rom-com. And the clips that they showed, I hate when they make the guy too likable. Of course, he's like a widower or something like that.
Yeah.
Why is it that the powers that be in rom-com, in big rom-com, always think that the guy is more attractive if he's not divorced, but that the wife is just dead? Horrible car accident. That just makes him, I guess it, by definition, makes him more sympathetic. But I don't know many young widowers. I gotta say,
well,
maybe I live a very privileged life.
It's just more complicated if it's divorce. And it makes you wonder, what was wrong with him that they got divorced? Yeah. You know, I recently was watching a Hallmark Christmas movie. Same thing.
What?
I know.
You were watching?
It's often about, you know, if someone's falling in love and they were married or they have a kid, they are a widower. But I was watching one where this woman was separated or like divorced from her husband. And I'm like, this feels weird. It feels not complete or finished. But, you know, death is final. So.
Well said. I definitely remember reading that initially Mr. and Mrs. Brady in the pilot were divorcees. And the network censors in the late 60s at the time said that they absolutely couldn't do that because divorce was still considered so controversial that both Mr. Brady and Mrs. Brady's respective spouses were indeed dead. And I always enjoyed the Very Brady sequel where Carol Brady finds out that indeed her husband isn't dead and had just tried to leave the family for insurance reasons or whatever.
I remember that.
I thought that was
such a good movie.
It was really good. Some might say it's the Godfather 2 of Brady sequels, but it was very funny, and I thought that was a great idea for a plot point. Oh wait, you're live.
Or even because you know those really skewed, like comedic. It would be so great to do like a true crime thriller Brady Bunch remake.
I smell a third one.
Because if you think about it, it is really fucking creepy. That many kids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we need to use the language, but you're dead on. And what's his name? Cole. He was in Office Space. He played in Veep. He is just an MVP in so many great comedies. He was like Will Ferrell's father in Talladega Nights. He's been in everything. But he, and the casting in the Brady movies was so great. He played Mike Brady and just nails it. Just does just sort of that deadpan, like, no matter how awful the situation, well, kids, this is a learning experience. You always find, and it would be these convoluted life lessons. The neighbor that you know is also the neighbor you don't know. But you want to know the neighbor because it's better to know. And it would just be stuff like that. The rest of the kids would be like, huh, okay. But yeah, he just nailed it. It was great casting. Shelley Long was Carol Brady.
Yes. So
Wonderful. And they nailed the Carol Brady mullet of the
Yep.
mid-70s. That was every boy had their perm, which was great. It was, if you have not seen, in fact, I might watch it today. If you've not seen either Brady movie, both are really good. Guys, check it out.
Oh my gosh, when they go to Sears, it's the best. On the escalator.
Of course, yeah. So, and they're sitting there. It's a sunshine day or
I
whatever.
think I'll go for
Yes.
I had that album, by the way,
Love it.
growing up as a kid.
Well, now you were a bit of a latchkey kid and watched a lot of reruns. You're one of
Yes.
the few members of your generation that knows what Gilligan's Island is. I don't know if you ever saw this because this is a little before your time, but for a brief period in the mid to early 80s, the original Brady cast would get back together for TV movies. And there was one, and this is where they get the sequel in the films. It was, I shit you not, A Very Brady Christmas with the original cast. And
Wait, what was the plot of it?
there was some like drama. Like there was a building that Mike Brady, and we never actually saw him leave the house, but apparently he's an architect, that he had designed or something, and the building collapses, and like Carol Brady is outside and sings this carol, hoping that they're survivors and that they'll hear the song and come out unscathed. Like they take a lot of it really seriously.
Wait. Was it a part of this movie, or was it a Christmas episode where she lost her voice?
Lost Her Voice Christmas episode, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember that.
This one has got a lot more drama than that. And then those were so successful. Kill me for knowing this. Those were so successful that they had, for a brief time, a Brady series in the 80s.
I watched a lot of it. I definitely, as a little performer, loved when they were all singing and dancing together.
Sure.
That was my favorite.
They had a variety show for a brief
Yes.
period. Yes.
Yes, that's what I
after the-
remember.
Yeah.
But no, I watched reruns of the Brady Bunch. I've said before, Gilligan's Island was really big in my house.
Another one that after the show, they would have movies, and they all looked weirdly a lot older, in the 70s, where they had turned Gilligan's Island into a resort, and they all worked there.
Oh, yeah.
That is when they would have the Harlem Globetrotters come by. That's a
Yes.
misnomer that they were on the TV show. No, they were in the TV movies where they came to visit their resort. And at one point, they played a basketball game against robots, as one
Man.
does on the resort.
Imagine being in that pitch meeting. All right, we have this resort. Who's going to come? Who's going to come? Sonny and Cher. No, it's done too often. Who else? Oh, gosh, I don't know. Oh, the Globetrotters? Yeah, definitely. Makes perfect sense.
Yes. And the one thing that would always be very off-putting, whether it be in the Brady's reunion ones or in the Gilligan's Island one, there'd be one cast member that just wasn't having it. They've moved on, man, or they weren't getting paid enough. So another actress would be playing Ginger. And it would sort of take you out of it.
I watched a lot of that. And then Game Show Network.
You still like the Game Show Network. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Card Shark, great. Match Game, even better.
So there you go, people. If you can find it, and I have a feeling the entire thing's on YouTube, Google A Very Brady Christmas, because it is out there. And again, if it wasn't for the sonful styles of Carol Brady and her amazing voice, I don't think those people would have gotten out of that building. I think they would be dead to this day.
All because of her husband.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I don't know how they justify his shitty architecture, because I think that's why the building collapsed.
Yeah.
I think that's why he was down there or something, but I don't know. I think he was playing fast and loose with the asbestos, but it didn't look good for Mike Brady. The downside is it ends with a class action lawsuit against him.
Oh,
So that's very sad. But other than that, it was indeed a very Brady Christmas.
Speaking of death,
You always are.
this might be a pre-tape because I might currently be in Florida, but
Yes.
this is still relevant. People are still going to be watching the new JonBenet Ramsey
Oh,
documentary.
Sure. Yeah. Didn't you
Bill,
say you
I have
watched
not
it?
seen it.
Oh.
I have not.
Oh, gotcha.
Here's why I thought I did. I looked it up. It just came out. It just came out at the end of November. I thought I had seen everything about
Right.
JonBenet Ramsey because I owe it to the little pageant girl and myself to, watch as much as possible. And I had just watched one sort of recently or so, I thought, um, that exhausted a lot of options, showed a lot of information, had a ton of interviews. So I was like, surely there's nothing new. So I don't know why there would be another documentary. Well, I start watching, and spoiler, there's still nothing really new.
What a weird case.
But they get the dad to do new interviews with this docu crew. He's like old now.
Sure.
And he's
That
still
works.
doing interviews about this. Now, I don't know if I had a daughter and she was killed in such a horrifying manner and the killer was still not found. Yeah, maybe I would still be actively doing whatever I could to make sure that there's light shed on the case and there's renewed interest and there's, new resources being used to find the killer. But also a part of me would be like, fuck no, I don't want to be a part of a 5th documentary,
Right. Well, Joe, I am here to tell you that if you were brutally murdered as a kid, 30 years, 20 years later, your dad would have stopped caring. Your dad would
stop caring?
Yeah, your dad would have moved on. Your
Yeah.
dad would have been like, there's a time for mourning. I just don't want to talk about this anymore. Not
Yeah.
because he's sad, just because, again, stopped caring about little Joe and decided to live his life.
But honestly, as I would want him to. Unless he's getting paid a pretty penny for those interviews, then I say,
There
Dad,
she
you keep
is.
going.
There she is. Yeah, make money off my corpse, which I suppose he is. Well, all right, so you haven't seen this one. I was led to believe that a lot of people think it was the son and that the parents tried to cover it up because they didn't want to lose both kids. Yes?
Yes. So apparently the older son, Burke, who was about 9 or 10 when JonBenet was killed, had some, I could be misremembering because I haven't gotten to this part yet in the new documentary, but might have had some behavioral issues. And so some people thought that maybe he had on purpose, accidentally, whatever, hurt his sister, and then the parents covered it up so that they wouldn't also lose another child.
That to me makes the most sense considering how bizarre the whole thing
However,
is.
with DNA evidence, there was male DNA
Ugh.
found in her underpants
Ugh.
that does not belong to anyone who is living in that house.
Oh, well, that is a smoking gun right there, yeah. And then, didn't they, obviously they would have done handwriting analysis on the very strange letter that, I hate that I know this. There was a very strange letter that was found in the basement or something. I don't know if there was another third party that did actually kill her. Maybe he was thinking that this would take them away from the body for a while. I don't know what the mindset was on this, if the body was still there. But they got this letter. I guess they give it to the cops, and then, like, the cops are there or something, and then he comes upstairs holding the evidence. He's like, my daughter, and he's got her in his arms, and she was just tucked away in some other part of the basement. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, they do cover the fact that the police who was dispatched to the home didn't really do everything correctly. The parents had called over friends to the house because they were so distraught that their daughter was kidnapped, or so they thought. So these friends, you have, now there's multiple people in the home, which is compromising a crime scene. They should have sealed it off. The parents are still there in the home. And at one point, there's only one officer in the home. The parents don't know what to do. They're waiting for a call from the kidnappers that they don't receive. So this cop woman is like, why don't you and your friend search the house again? See if there's anything weird.
But
so they go into the
makes
basement.
You sound suspect, does it not? That makes the parents look like they did something like, oh, we've still got this body here that perhaps they wanted it to. I don't know. It's so weird. Ugh.
I know. Well, the real issue is when the cops first arrived and they did a search of the home, they did not go into the basement and open the one door she was behind. There's a lot of little things like that.
That's not a little thing. I am not a smart person.
There's a lot of big things like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not a smart person, but shockingly, like most kids, there was a while where I wanted to be a cop. As bad of a cop as I would be, and let's face it, Joe, I'd probably be a corrupt one as well. I feel I would look into that other room. I know I'm giving myself a lot, but I think that I would be a good enough cop where I would take a look at every little nook and cranny in that home. And this entire group, and I did also read in promotion for this show that they have not been cooperative with other Colorado precincts because they don't want to, rather than help further the case along, these particular set of cops are, I guess, so embarrassed at the job that they did, they will not allow which they are in their right to do, they will not allow other Colorado policemen to come in and sort of help out or sort of overlook what they had done because they are so humiliated by how badly they screwed up.
Well, there's different reasons that cops do that. I don't know that it's necessarily embarrassment or humiliation, although they should feel both.
Yeah, seriously.
But, you know, it's more of like a pride or like we're going to get this one thing. You know, so often when a crime is committed, there's, you know, the county, there's the state, there's the town, and everyone's sort of fighting over who's going to get this case.
Big thing with Jack the Ripper, sure.
But it's also like, can't we just figure out who killed this little girl? Can y'all just like stop throwing your dicks around? Is that what they do?
I, for one, support women being cops, but I guess you're that much of a lady-hating a-hole that you just think it's a bunch of dicks being thrown around. But I think that there should be and are lady cops. How about that?
Oh, no, these are metaphorical dicks.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes. Yes.
Well, to your point, I'm sure you saw it. The latest Ted Bundy one, I believe it was on Netflix. I did watch that. And it's exactly the same thing. I mean, this guy was in his stupid little Volkswagen, killing any lady he'd come across. But he would just go into different districts within the same state as he'd do his little road trip from hell. And none of these cops would, and this is like before fax machines, right? And so none of these cops would cooperate with other cops.
Yeah.
If there was a murder or something in their area that was very much the same. And that's half the reason Ted Bundy got away with it for as long as he did.
Yeah, right now, thankfully, there are databases and things that are you're more easily able to search for similarities in cases and whatever. And they communicate easier.
Yes, and they now want to use the DNA that they found with JonBenet on that they've been catching so many people through, which is the 23andMe stuff. Yeah. And, that's how they get a lot of these people because they'll get a relative of theirs or something like that. And so I'm surprised they haven't done that already, frankly, but.
That has sort of been the consensus on social media. People are like, okay, so what are you going to do with this DNA now? Yeah, it's really a shame. I feel a little bad about my crazed interest in JonBenet.
You should.
But like, I think it stems from our innate curiosity as human beings.
Oh, yeah.
But also just the fact that it has not been solved.
Yeah. Like, that's why I'm obsessed still to this day with Jack the Ripper. I mean, if there's any type of new, at this point, if we were going to figure out who did it, I think we would have so many 100 years later. But any new thing on Jack the Ripper, I'm all over it, For that reason, it's not been solved.
I don't know if we'll ever know. I hope so.
The DNA is a big deal. But even with the letters of Jack the Ripper, we're still not sure if he wrote them. So whatever DNA could be on that, it might not be. It could be a fake guy just wanting to get his letter into the paper, all that stuff. But what wonderful holiday topics that we are on now.
JonBenet was killed the day after Christmas. So there you go.
Oh, no wonder it's out now. Well, 'tis the season, everyone. Well, I have something much more holiday related. And Joe, I sent you the related SNL sketch song link.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure anything SNL I put up will get flagged on YouTube, but we can describe it.
Yes, it's all of the female cast members when Jimmy Fallon was hosting. It's easy to find. And then singing about how they are going to get busy in the room that they grew up in with their visiting boyfriend, and comedy ensues. It's by the way, very catchy song as well. I urge everyone to look it up on YouTube after this. But Laura Berman, let's give credit for the paper. USA Today, where I get all of my holiday sex stories. This is also a couples counseling.
I've got a master's in psychology. Look at my diploma on the wall. I am really great. I am really great at couples counseling. Hey, Joanne, argue with yourself, girl. You crazy.
And the headline, talk about clickbait. It's okay to have sex at your parents' house this holiday season. Here's why. Of course, I'm hitting that one. Writes Laura Berman, who I assume has some sort of authority on all things holiday sex. Holiday travel can be disastrous for your sex life. A 2020 Stanford study found that women experience a desire drought during the holiday season. Researchers found that women reported a dip in libido in the days leading up to Christmas Day, with low desire lingering until well after New Year's. So I can get a lot of ideas for that. Instead of zoning out with your earbuds while your partner drives, you can play a couple's questionnaire game. If the kids aren't listening, you can even do an X-rated version of this. What? Or commit to giving your partner a daily 10-second kiss, mistletoe optional. Boy, I feel that she might have mailed this assignment in, Joe. Instead of thinking, quote, I'm not going to be in the mood when my parents are in the next room, think of it as you and your partner are teens again and trying to slip away for makeout sessions without getting grounded. Remember, it's okay to turn down invites even if it hurts grandma's feelings. Do what makes sense for you and your relationship. If you get enough rest and take care of yourself emotionally, you're going to be more in the mood for sex when the opportunity arrives. They also give suggestions like opening a bottle of wine and putting on lingerie, or as I like to call it, lingerie, to wrap
Lingerie?
I'm very phonetic. To wrap presents together. It might mean sending a naughty text to each other when you're stuck at the airport, or maybe sneaking away to the bathroom together instead of watching another hour of football. Seems to me like that might be problematic if it's a full house. Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah. I am very grateful that I have family that lives a relatively short car ride away. Both my
Yes.
family and Douglas's, like 2 hours tops to visit. So we don't often stay overnight.
Right.
And if we do, it's like one night. And, for one night, I think we can keep it in our pants. Okay? I think for one night, I'm going to be full and boozed up enough that I'm just going to pass out on
That
those
tracks.
linens and things sheets. And that's it.
That tracks. I think that you're not the only one. I think
But
some
for the
people think
people
that.
who do, fly to see their parents, or they're staying a week or more than a few days, sure, maybe. But I mean, you know me, I'm not an especially horned up horn dog. So
Certainly not. Some might say that this is your hot time of the year because you are an ice princess.
yes,
Weather-wise, yes.
yes, my cold feet are my protection from hanky panky. Get away from me. Here's some icicles.
You know what else is your protection from hanky panky? Saying the phrase hanky panky, Joanne.
Yeah, when they're talking about sending a dirty text, that's what I send. Hanky panky.
Do you want to have some hanky panky? Some rigmarole?
It's awkward, and I'm not a teenager, and it's the headspace is important, and it's tough to get in there. Also, I'm an actor. I have to pretend for work. Why am I going to pretend to be a slutty teenager? I don't know. Maybe it would be different if we had kids and it's like, okay, grandma and grandpa are watching the kid. Finally time for ourselves. But I don't know.
I have shockingly not been in this position often, but there was a time in my life where I may have dated a former host of The View, and I don't know what I was thinking, because there's just so much navigation of bringing somebody back to Chicago to begin with, and just the parents meeting the first time. I don't know why I put myself through that, but we did go back to Chicago, and my Catholic mom being a Catholic mom, despite the fact that I was in my 30s, we both were in different bedrooms.
Nice.
And it was great. Yes. Fine by me. I could care, shockingly, I could care less. She was very offended by this. And was insistent that we perhaps do something in my childhood home. And I was not for this, believe it or not. But you're also not going to say no either. And so as to, and I'm going to use this as an apology, did not want anything to even remotely look like I did it in my childhood bedroom.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alfred.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Alfred can never look at his childhood home the same.
Well, luckily my parents moved to New Jersey, and I told him that recently, and not a fan of that story. Was he? But Yeah, so that's how that would be my suggestion to people that are trying to navigate this road. Maybe don't do it in your room. It doesn't count if it's your brother's room. I do recall that there were still some like Magic Johnson posters up when
Oh.
yeah, because it was one of those
Thank
things.
goodness. That's what got you out of your guilt and shame headspace into the let me deliver.
Yeah, the Showtime Lakers of the '80s really gets me going.
Yeah.
So that did help, but no, that was certainly a thing. And hey, the folks were none the wiser. So we were still, I was still able to go see the Chicago architectural tour with her and my folks the next day, guilt free. So it was win-win, Joe. That would be my advice to anyone that's bringing their girlfriend back to Chicago for the holidays. Although don't go on the architectural tour this time of year because you will lose appendages via the cold. So that would be my other advice.
Yeah, that is way too cold.
Yes.
Yeah, the other advice that was given in that article about like dressing up in lingerie
lingerie.
Lingerie
Thank
to gift wrap and whatever else. Like, how far are we gonna go? Are you going to do a production to Santa Baby? Make your man dress up as Santa?
Weird.
Maybe you're a sassy reindeer. Like, it's
not against that.
It's
sassy reindeer. Well, also, I hate the fact that I remember this, but I know that you are decidedly anti-lingerie to begin with. You never got paying the extra money, Joanne Ma that you are, for such sexy garbs.
You know, I've lived a bit of a life, Bill, and I don't know that I'm the authority on this, but I have often found that men just want you out of the lingerie. It's like I just spent over $100 on this ensemble, and you just want me to take it off? But
it can be a little of both, I think. They appreciate the effort. I can't speak. Actually, you know what? I can't speak for all men.
Yeah, men don't really care about that effort. They just care, and you've said this before, that you're there.
Yeah, you're happy to be there. 1,000%.
You could be wearing your 8th grade class t-shirt, and they'll be like, sexy.
Yes, that is absolutely true. But again, lingerie doesn't hurt. I mean, there was a reason why the Victoria's Secret shows back in the day were as popular as they were. They're not now because everything is readily accessible on the old interwebs.
Sure.
But that was like for a long time the like #1 rated anything on any holiday season when they would do those Victoria's Secret things. There's a reason behind that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, sweatpants, whatever. We'll get there. Doesn't matter what they're wearing. Particularly if there's a Magic Johnson poster in the background.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas. I'm going to make sure you put it up on your ceiling. I don't know.
Was it on the ceiling? Well, also I remember there was, my parents would save everything. And Alfred would just do these horrible drawings of like Mike Tyson and Michael Jordan, and they'd have these horrible like stick fingers. I definitely remember looking at that before things started getting going. I'm like, what am I doing? And credit to me for still being able to get the job done while looking at Alfred's old sports drawings on the wall.
That is the other weird thing. It's like you have all of these trinkets or, art in your room, that is charged with whatever memories or things. I'm looking at, the Flintstones.
Or
like what?
Or a fake book that you didn't write. That's got to take you out of it because it makes you realize how duplicitous.
Looking at myself, Bill, always helps me out.
I'm surprised there's not mirrors everywhere at your place. Alfred's Michael Jordan drawings would take me out, and they're not good.
Were there pictures of Alfred in the room?
Maybe I don't know. He didn't get many awards, so it's not like there was a picture of that with a trophy or anything. Certainly not for his drawing. But anyway, that's some advice. Again, we don't want to get our YouTube video flagged, but it's a very easy find. The SNL video is so uncannily exactly like this article, but with comedic undertones. It's definitely worth a watch. There's like one of the SNL female cast members. They're like all sexily describing their childhood room, and of course the guys are just like doing this the whole time. One of them's like bragging about her 12-year-old christening dress that her mom's displayed.
Yeah.
And the guy's just like, And
Yeah.
they had to do it quick. So one guy's like, I'm only wearing my shirt like Winnie the Pooh because they have to get the clothes back on quickly. It's good. You'll enjoy it.
In my childhood bedroom, it would be like it was all the playbills of plays I had seen just hanging up like a border
What an aphrodisiac right there.
on the walls. And so I would just be like, that production was great. I give it an 8 out of 10. This one, the costumes were shit.
You guys are like, wait, maybe we should just consider taking a break. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't know that it would really help the libido, as this person suggested.
It's not like Magic Johnson, but yeah, the other thing, they don't really get into it enough in that article too, but it's just how full everyone is. I mean, the amount of food, that right there is that's your birth protection. A lot of turkey is birth control like nobody's business.
Yeah, or just running around and chasing the 1-year-old so that they don't kill themselves.
Yeah.
That right there.
You've certainly had that experience.
Well, speaking of dirty, why superstars air their dirty laundry.
Yes, I like this.
Taking a closer look at the self-deprecating humor of the rich and famous. Now, we know self-deprecating humor is my least favorite kind of humor.
Truly.
I don't understand why you have to be mean to yourself.
Well, that's also because you are a sociopath, but continue, yeah.
I think so highly of myself that I could never imagine. There seems to be a pattern of celebrities having their shortcomings highlighted during interviews. Indeed, one would be hard-pressed to find an interview where this was not the case.
True.
Oftentimes, they recall some humiliating faux pas on their part or an annoying fan they had to placate, or how they were left speechless by some really famous or extremely influential person whose name they can't help but drop, and all to the amusement and laughter of their interviewers or audience members. Celebrities want, indeed need, us, their audiences and fans, to not just admire them, but like them. When they achieved their dreams, and this is the important part, they didn't become giant a-holes. Because if there's one thing we humans can't abide, it's arrogance. Self-deprecating humor goes a long way to inoculate them against envy and resentment. It makes us like them all the more. We assume, I think correctly, that their unpretentiousness comes about organically and from a place of sincerity. Although this writer from Psychology Today says, I suspect that for a few, their manager or publicist might need to weigh in to make sure it comes across that way.
Yes.
Which agreed. Some examples they give: Jennifer Lawrence, she's fallen all over the place.
Wait, and you like that, right?
Love
anything
it so
that
much.
Yes, yeah, big fan.
Benedict Cumberbatch, I don't know that I've ever seen an interview with him. Bill Hader, I do like Bill Hader because I actually think all of those stories are completely true and honest.
Also, he seems like someone that you would date.
I would date?
He seems oddly, weirdly your type.
I mean, not really, but we'll never know, will we? John Mulaney is the other example they give, although I wouldn't call that self-deprecating. I would call that rehab.
Oh, yeah, and also he's just an oddball, too. But
you know what, Bill, when did this start? Because I feel like this writer is right in the fact that this is more of a new thing. I kind of want to say it's the Jimmy Fallon era, but
sure.
What do you think?
Jimmy Fallon is egregious with this and makes it look gross with the amount that he does. And to your point, I believe, the way Jimmy Fallon does is it comes off completely insincere because he just leans on it as much as he does. I believe, do not quote me on this. Actually, you know what? Quote me on this. What do I have to lose? I think that while to a certain extent, celebrities have always done a level of this to make them seem accessible, it really came to fruition, and I remember this, a lot older than you. I remember this when it happened, when Hugh Grant got caught with a prostitute. He had been lined up, and whoever his publicist or manager was at the time that told him he should still do this, absolute genius. Because when something scandalous like that would happen at the time, Hugh Grant got caught with a prostitute while he was dating Elizabeth Hurley, and he was in the middle of promoting a big movie at the time. On Sunset Boulevard. And it was at the time a very shocking thing, and he had his mugshot everywhere. It was on the cover of magazines, and he looked very Hugh Grant, just being like, "Well, I've just done a whoopsie here. This is very inconvenient for both me and the brothel." His manager told him, "You're on Jay Leno. Go on Jay Leno. Go on there and do a mea culpa," and which celebrities really never did at the time. Say, what I did was utter bollocks. I don't know what I was thinking. And that was indeed Jay Leno's first question. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
And he looked very uncomfortable, but he powered through. And not only did people forgive him, Elizabeth Hurley forgave him, and his career did not suffer a tiny bit. And an interesting side note, Joe, was this was at the beginning of when Letterman had switched to CBS because he didn't get the Tonight Show. Before that, David Letterman was number one at the ratings on CBS. When Hugh Grant stuck to being scheduled on Jay Leno's show and came on, obviously this destroyed Letterman in the ratings, and Letterman was never number one ever again.
Wow.
He was always number two after they had done the Hugh Grant thing from then on out. But I don't know if you can necessarily call that self-deprecating, but it was a actor trying their best to be human, and let's say it's none of y'all are. But it showed how powerful that can be, and so a smaller version of that, like, I'm Jennifer Lawrence and I trip a lot. I'm just going to admit it. Little versions of that overall big that Hugh Grant did, I think it stemmed from that, and that people saw what a winning formula that is, because it, if anything, made Hugh Grant more popular when everyone thought his career was done.
But you know what? And you know what I think it is, though? Like, why some of them work and others don't. It's the authenticity, right?
Yes.
So we know that Hugh Grant, Horndog, sleeping with a prostitute.
Ugh. In his car. They busted him in his car. He couldn't even get out of the room. Yeah.
He's resourceful. The accent, very authentic, all of that. So we're like, okay. But, Jennifer Lawrence falling down or sharing some of these stories, it just doesn't feel authentic. I wonder, too, if it's a matter of when celebrities tell these stories, the size of it. Like, sometimes these sort of small faux pas interactions, oh my God, I embarrassed myself in front of an even larger celebrity. That's why it feels off or icky, because it's like, well, that's not a big deal. I embarrass myself in front of my boss all the time, Right.
And since then, which I think continues to make him more endearing, Hugh Grant has, before that, everyone sort of thought that he was the guy that was in Love, Actually, even though this might have happened before that, or the guy in Four Weddings and a Funeral, when he has said since then, and I'll always listen to a Hugh Grant interview because he's hilarious, he's always said, I enjoyed my role in the Bridget Jones movies the most because that's the guy that's most like me in real life. It's not the lovable rom-com guy that he would play over and over. What's the one with Notting Hill? He's like the writer for all those movies. It's the same writer. He's always would say, boy, you've really pulled one over on everyone. Because you are such an a-hole in real life. But instead of Hugh Grant trying to pretend that he is that guy, he very readily admits that he is basically the male version of you. Hates people, very impatient, all of these things.
And so I'm trying to think about when I'm on these late night shows, like, what stories am I going to share? And you know what it is that I love sharing? It's the things that I love, which just happen to be
terrible,
strange to some people, but I don't think it's strange. So that's why it's not self-deprecating to me.
Yes.
Like when I talk about my love of mukbang or penny slots or true crime, like some people might think like, oh, she knows she's a little extra and that's like a weird niche thing and she's playing into that. Like, no, I love these things. I think more people should be interested in these things. So it's authentic to me.
What that is less self-deprecating for sure, and it's more you breeding concern for the viewers. Viewers are concerned for your well-being, I would say, your mental health, if you will.
That is so sweet of them.
Yeah. They don't think it's all right up here, and they're very concerned for you. They don't think that you should be alone with sharp objects, not because you'd hurt yourself, but that you might hurt others.
Oh man. I gotta stop opening boxes with scissors.
Yeah, keep scissors away. Get the plastic ones. With
I
the rough
did
edges.
cut myself once.
Did you?
And so then Douglas goes, well, we have a box cutter. We have like a razor. But that feels more dangerous to me than scissors.
I'd say just let Douglas open them. And you go into another room. Like, don't even be in the
know.
same room, you know? I can see him just dropping it. It bounces off something, and you still get injured, you know? That would happen to you.
Yeah, I used to run with scissors. I have stopped.
I always wondered why you did that.
Let me see. Do I have any plugs or promotions? Let's do a More You, Joe. Okay. Through the power of time travel, this episode might be airing a week after we filmed it. So if by chance the killer of JonBenet Ramsey has been discovered, I apologize that we are not sharing that breaking news with you as it happens.
I don't apologize.
Okay, but I do.
Okay.
And that makes me a relatable celebrity. Have a good day, y'all. Bye.
I'm sure glad that's over.
That's all for this episode of Mornin with Bill and Joanne.
I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts.
Shut up, Bill.
Subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you get podcasts.
Yeah, I wasn't listening either.
Very nice, Joanne. Touché.
For videos of this and other episodes, go to @MorninBillAndJoe on YouTube.
Bill, put the sword down.
Run, Joanne, run!
Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We would do it for you. Okay, that's a lie.
I never liked your show.
Sorry, wasn't listening. See ya.